Okay, so we started discussion about that superposition of SHM, right? Okay. So when two SHMs, simple harmonic motion, they have different frequency but uh, amplitude same. When they superimpose, the resultant motion will no longer be simple harmonic motion, but there will be kind of periodic motion. Okay, and we also notice that intensity of this wave will be proportional to 4 a square cosine of square omega 1 minus omega 2 p by 2 that we have seen yesterday, right? Now I told you at what t, when you will get, at what time you will get maximum intensity. So I will be I max, I mean maximum intensity will become, when you will get maximum intensity, अगर cos का value आपका plus minus 1 हो तो, right? It means cos का value plus minus 1 कब होता है? When theta equals to n pi. So you will get I equals to I max when cosine of omega 1 minus omega 2 p by 2, that should be equals to plus minus 1. Okay, plus minus 1 means cosine of n pi, right? Where n can be 0, on 2, 3 and so on. ठीक है ना? ऐसा नहीं कि माइनस 1 के लिए नहीं मिलेगा मैक्सिमम इंटेंसिटी, बिकॉज दिस इज अ कोसाइन स्क्वायर, राइट? So if you take minus 1, again I will be maximum because minus 1 का whole square, it will be positive number. Okay, so from this equation I can write that omega 1 minus omega 2 into t divided by 2, that should be equals to n pi, right? And you know omega is nothing but 2 pi f, right? So angular frequency can be written in terms of frequency like this. So I'll substitute this omega in place of omega 1 and omega 2. I'll substitute this frequency, their frequency. So I'll get 2 pi f1 minus f2, right? Divided by 2 into t, that should be equals to n pi. So this pi will be cancelled, 2 will be cancelled, right? So it means t will be n by f1 minus f2, and end you have taken that is 0 on 2. So when you will get that maximum intensity and maximum intensity when time equals to 0, then 1 by f1 minus f2 and so on. So this is the condition of maximum intensity. Okay, is this part clear everyone? Okay, तो एक मैक्सिमम इंटेंसिटी के लिए कितना टाइम लग रहा है? देखो 0 पहले बार मैक्सिमम इंटेंसिटी कब मिलेगा? एट टाइम t equals to 0. नेक्स्ट इट विल टेक 1 by f1 minus f2. तो देन नेक्स्ट 2 by f1 minus f2. यानी एक मैक्सिमम इंटेंसिटी प्रोड्यूस होने के लिए कितना टाइम लग रहा है? 1 by f1 minus f2 minus 0, है ना? मतलब एक मैक्सिमम इंटेंसिटी का साउंड प्रोड्यूस होने के, साउंड या कोई भी वेव, for the sound I will deal with when we will go to that wave, that time I will deal with the sound wave. So you know the formation of beat, the region of formation of beat is exactly the same as this. So beat क्यों फॉर्म होता है जब साउंड में हम पढ़ते हैं? बीट का कॉन्सेप्ट क्या है साउंड में? जब दो साउंड वेव having same amplitude, they are propagating in a same direction, but their frequency difference, there is a small frequency difference between these two waves, and that frequency difference is basically less than 10 hertz. So if they superimpose, then you कभी-कभी आपको क्या मिलेगा? बहुत लाउड साउंड मिलेगा, कभी बहुत स्मॉल बहुत कम साउंड मिलेगा ना। तो एक पार्टिकुलर पोजीशन पे अगर दो सुपरपोजिशन ऑफ साउंड का ये सुनोगे, आप साउंड सुनोगे, इन दैट केस कभी आपको बहुत तेज साउंड सुनाई देगा, कभी बहुत हल्का लाउड वाला साउंड सुनाई देगा, है ना। तो सेम कॉन्सेप्ट इज देयर इन साउंड वेव. That time I'll discuss this part. Again, I'll come to this part. Okay. Similarly, when you'll get minimum intensity, so I will be I minimum. When this function is minimum, cos square function का हाँ minimum value कितना होता है, 0 होता है. It means when cosine of omega 1 minus omega 2 t by 2, right? That should be equals to how much? Pi by 2, 3 pi by 2, and so on. Okay. So in terms that you can write like, right? Sorry, please. I have to is. So this when this function will be 0, right? कब मिलेगा minimum intensity? When this function will be 0, then you will get zero intensity, because cosine square का minimum value कितना होता है? 0 होता है, right? So 0 means what actually? Cosine of 2n plus on pi by, right? Where n can be 0, on, 2, so on. It means omega 1 minus omega 2 into t divided by 2, that should be equals to how much? 2n plus 1 pi by 2. Okay. Again, I'll write omega in terms of f, so it will become 2 pi f1 minus f2, okay, into t divided by 2, that should be equals to 2n plus 1 pi by 2. So this 2 pi will be cancelled, 2 will be cancelled, right? So it means t will be how much? 2n plus 1 by 2 into f1 minus f2. तो इनका वैल्यू 0, 1, 2 रखोगे तो पहला कब मिलेगा आपको? पहला लो साउंड कब सुनाई मिलेगा? when n equals to 0, right? It means that 1 by 2 f1 minus f2, right?
Yes, sir.
Then 3 by 2 f1 minus f2, okay, then so on. ठीक है? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Everyone?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Shall I erase? Shall I erase?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now case number 3. Case number 3. Addition of n number of SHMs. Okay. They have same amplitude. They have same amplitude, but different frequency. Okay. So suppose you have n number of SHM. Let us write 1, 2, 3, so on, up to n. Okay. Their amplitude let us take for on SHM number 1 amplitude is A, for 2 it will be A, 3 again it will be A, because they have same amplitude, and this will be continue. And for n number of SHM, let us take that amplitude of oscillation, that is small a. Now frequency. So you have n number of SHM, just I have denoted the number 1, 2, 3 up to n. They have same amplitude, all will have amplitude, that is small a. And that frequency, let us assume for SHM number 1, the frequency is omega 1. For 2, that will be omega 1 plus delta omega. For SHM number 3, that angular frequency will be omega 1 plus twice delta omega. And same thing for nth SHM, it will become how much? Let us take that is omega 2, and omega 2 will be how much? Omega 1 plus, you can see this is a kind of AP series. Okay, omega 1 plus delta omega 1 plus twice delta omega, right? So this is the AP series, okay, where initial number is omega 1, D is delta omega, right? So I can write that last oscillator has frequency omega 2. I can write in terms of omega 1. So it will be omega 1 into n minus 1 delta of omega, right? Is it clear? Is this part? So you have n number of oscillator, you have different frequency. The separation or difference in the frequency between two successive oscillator, that frequency is how much? Delta omega. So last oscillator, nth number of oscillator का frequency कितना है? Omega 2 है. So I can represent this omega 2 in terms of omega 1 and delta omega. Because this is a kind of AP series, for nth oscillator it will become omega 1 plus n minus 1 delta omega. Is this part clear? Is this part clear to all?
Yes,
You
sir.
have? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now I can represent delta omega will be how much? So this will be useful at the end. So that's why I'm calculating here itself. So delta omega will be how much here? Delta omega will be omega 2 minus omega 1 divided by n minus 1, right? Okay. Now you got information about amplitude of every oscillator frequency. So now I can represent their displacement. So the displacement of first oscillator, let us take x1 as a function of t. So I can write like a cosine of omega 1 t. I can write, right? So this time I have assumed that oscillator started its oscillation from extreme end. So from extreme end, whenever oscillator start oscillation from extreme end, then the equation of displacement becomes cosine function. When oscillator start oscillation from origin, then you will get sine term. Okay. So I assumed for this case that oscillator start oscillation from that positive extreme end. So for oscillator number 1 or oscillator number 1, the displacement is a cosine of omega 1 t, because its angular frequency is omega 1, its amplitude is a. So can I write this like a of a real part of I exponential omega 1 t? Tell me if you are facing any difficulty in this part. So can I write a cosine of omega 1 t equals to a real part of exponential I omega 1 t? इस पार्ट में किसका प्रॉब्लम है, किसका डिफिकल्टी फेस कर रहे हो बताओ? इज दिस पार्ट क्लियर एवरीवन? जैसे आप सबको समझ में आया है? इज दिस स्टेप
Yes, sir.
एवरीवन अंडरस्टूड?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Then it's fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then for oscillator number 2, x2t. How I will represent this? I can represent like, because you have that equation will become a cosine of omega 1 plus delta omega, right, into t. So I can represent it like a of a real part of exponential I omega 1 plus delta omega, right, into t. I can represent like this, right? So up to n number, how I will write x of n? That will be how much? So it will be a cosine of, okay, tell me how I will write this. So it will be here I can write omega 1 plus n minus 1, right, n minus 1 delta omega, and then you will have t. So you can represent further like real part of a into real part of, दिखाई दे रहा है ये वाला पार्ट, नीचे वाला पार्ट आप लोगों को?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you can write like exponential of I, then omega 1 plus n minus 1 delta omega, right, and then you will have t. So this will be your representation. Okay, so this is all about your displacement of individual oscillator. Now if they superimpose, then what will be the outcome of that superimpose? Shall I erase this part?
Sir,
Yes.
del mega is equal to mega 2 minus mega 1 upon n minus 1. ये कैसे लिखा?
यहाँ से लिखा, जस्ट इसको सिंप्लीफाई करो, ओमेगा 1 को इधर लेके आ जाओ, ओमेगा 2 minus omega 1, right? You see, this is your equation. You bring omega 1 this side, it will become omega 2 minus omega 1. Then divide by n minus 1, you will get delta omega.
Okay, sir. ठीक है.
Okay, shall I erase now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now net displacement x net due to the superposition of n number of oscillators. So I can write like x1 plus x2 up to xn, right? Just you have to add them, and that should be vector sum. Okay, so if you add them, I can write, you see, a into real part of exponential I omega 1 t, then exponential I omega 1 plus delta omega t, and it will continue up to exponential I omega 1 plus n minus 1 delta omega into t. ठीक है, दिखाई दे रहा है? लास्ट वाला पार्ट नहीं दिखाई दे रहा होगा, राइट? This part you are not able to see, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll write here. So this will be continue, and last term will become exponential of I omega 1 plus n minus 1 delta omega, then you will have t. So this is your series. Nothing I have done, because this is nothing but your x1, x2, x3, so on. Just I have added them, right? I have added them, so I'll get this kind of scenario. Now you see, from every term I'll get exponential I omega 1 t common, right? So I'll take this term common. So what I can write? If I take common, I can write x net will become a into real part of exponential I omega on t, that will be common. Now inside bracket, so it first term will be 1, right? Second term will be what? Exponential I delta omega t, right? And third term you can write exponential twice I delta omega. Let me erase this part. So the third term will become twice exponential twice I delta omega t, and it will be continue. Last term will become exponential n minus 1 I delta omega t. Okay. Is this part clear, everyone? क्या ये वाला
sir.
पार्ट सबको क्लियर है?
सर ये 2 कहाँ से आ गया? 2 आई है क्या ये?
हाँ, ये 2i है. 2i यहाँ से आया होगा.
चलिए सर.
नेक्स्ट टर्म में क्या आ जाएगा यहाँ पे? ट्वाइस डेल्टा ओमेगा, राइट? थर्ड,
जी सर.
यहाँ पे थर्ड टर्म में क्या मिलेगा आपको? एक्सपोनेंशियल आई ओमेगा 1 प्लस ट्वाइस डेल्टा ओमेगा टी, राइट?
यस सर.
हाँ, so you have taken exponential I omega 1 t common. So third term will provide you this factor.
ओके ओके.
So you see, this is a kind of GP series inside, right? So further, if you write a real part of exponential I omega 1 t, that will be outside. So you see, this is a GP series. AR square. So you see, R is here exponential I delta omega t, and first term is how much? 1. So you see, AR square, AR cube, AR की power n minus 1. So you see, there are n number of terms, right? कितना number term है यहाँ पे inside?
Numbers.
कितना number of terms है यहाँ पे?
N number.
n number of terms है, and this series is GP series. So what is the summation rule? What is the summation?
1 upon r minus 1.
A r to the power n minus 1 divided by r minus 1. So A is your 1, okay, right? And r is how much? Exponential I delta omega t. R की power n, right? A r की power n minus 1, so you will get 1 n here, right? Minus 1 divided by r minus 1. R is exponential I delta omega t minus 1. So this will be your series summation, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Everyone, is this step clear?
ओके. यस.
Everyone? Okay. Now I'll take exponential from this upper side. I'll take exponential I n by 2 delta omega t common. What I'll take common? Exponential I n by 2 delta omega t by 2 common. Sorry, delta omega t common. So I'll take common like what I'm trying to say. So xnet will be now a real part of exponential I omega 1 t. Then I'll take exponential this term common. I, okay, I n by 2 delta omega t common from numerator. So it will become now exponential I n by 2 delta omega t minus exponential minus I n by 2. Can you please mute mic? Can you please mute your mic? So this part will become like this. Upper part, I have taken exponential I n by 2 delta omega t common. So if you take common, this term will become second term will become exponential minus I n by 2 delta omega t. Okay, is this part clear? Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
What about denominator? So if you take exponential I delta omega by 2 into t common, so it will become exponential I delta omega by 2 into t minus exponential minus I delta omega by 2 into t. This will become like this. Okay. So now if we divide like this, you see, if you divide by 2i this by this part, and in this part if you divide by 2i, so this 2i will be cancelled, you will get same result. But if you divide by 2i, this factor will become how much now? So you can divide by 2i because you are dividing here, you are dividing here. So this 2i can be cancelled. So you can divide like this. Now if you divide, this term will become sine function. This will again become sine function. So I can write them like a real part of exponential I omega on t. Then this will become how much? These two I can simplify them like I into n minus 1 by 2 delta omega t, right? These two terms. So if you bring this exponential I delta omega by 2t upper side, so it will become minus, right? So if after that if you add with this term, it will become exponential I n minus 1 by 2 into delta omega t. What I have done, I bring this exponential term upper side and I have added with this term. So if we added with this term, so this minus 1 by 2 actually this term, okay, and n by 2 actually this term. So you can write like this, and other part will become this part upper side. This is nothing but sine function, right? This is nothing but sine theta, right? Form of sine theta, and theta is here n by 2 delta omega t. So I can write like sine of n by 2 delta omega t. And in denominator, again we have sine function, but it will be now sine of delta omega by 2 into t. Okay. So you have real, you see, this is your real part. You have to take real part. Only you have to take real part. But these things already real. Nothing is imaginary here, right? There is no I multiplication here. So this is real. You can keep it outside. Because what is the meaning of RE? RE means you have to take real part of this function, and this function is already real. You can bring it outside. So I can write like a into sine of n by 2 delta omega t divided by sine of delta omega by 2 into t. Okay. And you know delta omega here. I'll substitute that value of delta omega. Delta omega is how much? So if we first I'll merge them, then I'll substitute that value of delta omega. So I'll merge these two terms. If I merge them, I can write exponential of I, then omega 1 plus n minus 1 by 2. Now what was your delta omega? Omega 2 minus omega 1 divided by n minus 1. This was your delta omega. I have substituted that value, and you have finally t and bracket complete. So this n minus 1 will be cancelled. this n minus 1 will be cancelled. So if you simplify this term, only this term, if you simplify, how much you'll get? If you simplify, you will get exponential, you see. You have omega 2 minus omega 1 by 2, right? And you have omega 1. So basically you will get, how much you will get? Omega 1 plus omega 2 by 2 into t. This will be the outcome. Just you check it. You will get exponential I omega 1 plus omega 2 into t divided by 2. Okay. And you have to take real part of this function. So if you take the real part of this function, the net displacement will become a sine of n by 2 delta omega t divided by sine of delta omega by 2 into t. And you have this function, you have to take real part. So of course, real part of this function is nothing but cosine of omega 1 plus omega 2 divided by 2 into t. So this is your net displacement or net outcome of addition of n number of oscillators. So x net is a sine of n by 2 delta omega t n by 2 delta omega t divided by sine of delta omega by 2 t cosine of omega 1 plus omega 2 divided by 2 into t. So this is the net displacement. And of course, from here you can see this is the this frequency is very less because delta omega into n, that will be very less. So this frequency is very less. So this is actually your amplitude factor. This will be your amplitude factor and this will be your frequency factor. So like previous discussion, you can think this term will bring that frequency and this term will bring your amplitude. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, huh? I'll be back 1 minute, okay? Okay. Did you understand this part, everyone? Because now we are going, we are planning to go to that next part. That is very important. That is Lissajous figure. Okay. So Lissajous figure, I'll teach you in detail. That will be really interesting. Okay. So if you have no problem here, we can proceed there. Do you have any question, anyone here? Do you have any question?
No, sir.
No, right? Okay. आप लोग कितने लोग लिसाजस फिगर पहले पढ़े हो? एनीवन लिसाजस फिगर पढ़े हो? No, right? No one?
नहीं sir.
No,
Yes,
sir.
नहीं sir.
Okay. Okay. So now we are planning to discuss about Lissajous figure. Okay. So suppose you have two simple harmonic motion. One is most happening along. Let us take this is your x-axis and this is your y-axis. There is one simple harmonic motion is along x-axis, okay, and the simple harmonic motion is along y-axis. So let us assume at time t equals to 0, this oscillator at equilibrium position. At t equals to 0, this oscillator at y equals to 0, okay, and its amplitude is b is the amplitude of oscillation of this oscillator. So b is the amplitude. So this for this oscillator, I can write that displacement y equals to how much? Now it will be how much? Y equals to, because why I have taken y? Because displacement is happening along y axis. Initially, this oscillator at equilibrium position, at some time t equals to t, it will be somewhere here. So I can write its displacement like y equals to b sine of omega t, where omega is the angular frequency. Okay. Okay.
सर ये माइनस में होना चाहिए.
Sorry.
मूल बिंदु के नीचे, ओरिजिन के नीचे माइनस.
Here.
Yes sir.
Okay. You can take minus sign, or yeah, you can take minus sign, or I'll assume suppose if I take, let us take, this is like your positive y-axis. Let us take this is your positive y-axis for the
Yes,
sake
sir,
of
yes.
convenience. Okay, so I can write like this. Okay, and this oscillator at time t equals to 0, this is let us say, suppose this is your equilibrium position, that is x equals to 0, but this oscillator is not at equilibrium position. At t equals to 0, this oscillator is somewhere here. At t equals to 0, this oscillator somewhere here. So, and also let us assume A is the amplitude of oscillation. Okay. So for this oscillator, I can write the displacement xt. It will be how much? A of sine omega t plus some initial phase. Why I am taking some initial phase? Because this oscillator at t equals to 0, it is not at equilibrium position. It is somewhere else. So that's why I have taken phi. But for this oscillator at t equals to 0, this is at equilibrium position. So I have not added any phase here. Okay. So initially, if you remember last three case, whatever we have discussed, that time both whatever oscillator they are adding, their displacement is happening in same direction, right? Now you see the scenario. These two oscillators are no longer be in the same direction, but they are actually perpendicular. So if they superimpose, then what type of trajectory particle will be followed, that we are going to search. So if two perpendicular simple harmonic motion are superimposed, then what type of trajectory particle will be followed, that we are going to discuss. Okay. So this is the displacement equation. Now further, this equation I can modify it, right? Modified like, because I know sine omega t plus phi, I can write like a sine of omega t cos phi plus a cosine of omega t sin phi, right? And sin omega t, I'll substitute this value. Sin omega t is nothing but y by b. So in place of sin omega t, I can write what I can write in place of sin omega t. Sin omega t is how much here? Y by b. So I can substitute like y by b here. Y by b cosine phi, right? Then further, cosine omega t, I can write root over 1 minus sin square omega t. 1 minus sin square omega t. Sin omega t is how much? Y by b. So I can write y by b ka whole square sin of phi. Okay. So this is your x of t. Now you see a is common from this term also. I can take this a outside and I can divide on the left hand side. So I can write like x by a, that should be equals to this, right? That should be equals to this. Is this part clear? So x by a,
Yes, sir.
that should be equals to y by b cos phi plus square root of 1 minus y by b ka whole square sin phi. Okay. Now if you bring this term on the left hand side, you will get x by a minus y by b cosine phi. Okay. That should be equals to square root of 1 minus y by b ka whole square sine of phi. Okay. Now if you square both sides, then how much you'll get? Square both sides. Then you will get x by a ka whole square minus 2xy by av cosine phi, right? Just you break that square. So a square minus 2ab plus b square, right? Last term will become y by b cosine phi ka whole square. And that should be equals to 1 minus y square by b square sine square phi. Okay. Now if you bring this minus y square by b square sine square phi this side, left hand side, then you can take y square by b square common, and inside bracket you will get cosine square phi plus sine square phi, that will be 1. What I'm saying, this minus y square by b square sine square phi, that term if you bring outside, then you will get y square. Here also you have y square by b square. So if you take y square by b square common, you will get cosine cos square plus sine square phi, that will be 1. So further I can write x by a ka whole square minus, or x by a ka whole square plus, this will become y by b, this will become y by b ka whole square minus 2xy by ab, 2xy by ab cosine phi, that should be equals to how much? Sine square phi. So this is the general equation of superposition of two SHM. They are performing motion along, or they are performing motion perpendicular to each other. So this is the general equation. Okay. Now we have to, you can see that the trajectory of the path will be basically depends upon the phase difference, right? Phi. Phi was kiska phase tha? Phi. Initial phi kiska initial phase tha? The oscillator that is along x-axis, right? It has initial phi phase. Initial phase, that was phi. Now the trajectory of the particle basically depends upon what? Phi. So we'll discuss one by one now. So that trajectory is really important for your exam purpose. So they will give you trajectory, or they will give you that phase angle, and they will ask you what will be the corresponding trajectory. Okay. So first case we are going to discuss, that is when phi is 0. When phi is 0, then what type of trajectory particle will be followed? So अगर phi 0 है, particle का trajectory किस तरह की होगा? ओके, अगर फाई यहाँ पे जीरो सब्स्टिट्यूट करोगे क्या मिलेगा आपको? If you substitute phi equals to 0 in this equation, then what will get?
x upon a का whole square plus y upon b का whole square minus 2x xy upon ab.
Exactly. So if you substitute the phi equals to 0, this term will be how much now? 1, and this term 0. So this will be the formula x by a का whole square minus 2x y by ab plus y by b का whole square. So this is the equation like a minus b का whole square, right? So I can write like x by a minus y by b का whole square, that should be equal to 0, because sin phi is 0, so sin square phi will also be 0. So from this equation further I can write what I can write, y equals to b by a into x, y equals to b by a into x. So this is the equation of what?
Straight line.
Straight line.
So what is that? Trajectory will be kind of straight line. So how will represent this? How will represent this? So let us take, this is your y-axis, this is your x-axis. So this length will be how much? This is the amplitude of oscillation. So along x-axis कितना था आपका amplitude of oscillation? A. So this point corresponds to A0. This point corresponds to what? 0, 0 B, right? 0 B. Because हाँ, अब जब x equals to 0 है, y equals to कितना होगा? 0 होगा, right? This equation. If x equals to 0, that y should be equals to 0. So corresponding point कैसे represent करोगे? ये वाला point होगा, right? जब x equals to a है, y कितना हो जाएगा? When x equals to 0, y equals to how much? B. When x equals to a will be cancelled, you will get y equals to b. So that point कहाँ पे substitute करोगे? ये coordinate कहाँ हो जाएगा? X equals to a, y equals to b. This point. Okay. Now, when x equals to minus a, when x equals to minus a, y equals to कितना हो जाएगा? Minus b. So x equals to minus a this side, y equals to minus b. So this will be the point. So now you can merge, जैसे आप लोगों ने प्रैक्टिकल में करते हो ना, ग्राफ को ड्रॉ करते हो. Now you can add this line. Okay. So this kind of trajectory particle will be followed at phi equals to 0. Okay. Okay. Now ये वाला इरेज कर सकते हो?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now case number 2. Case number 2, when phi equals to pi by 4. Now phase angle is no longer be 0. Now it is pi by 4. Okay. तो फिर कैसे ड्रॉ करोगे आप? तो फिर मैं जैसे कर रहा हूँ वैसे करो आप. Take omega t. So you have two equations, right? Now your x equals to how much? X कितना हो जाएगा? A sin of omega t plus pi by 4, because phi is now pi by 4. So for x it will become like this, and y you have y equals to b sin of omega t. Right? This was your equation. Now how will plot when phase phi equals to pi by 4? So I will take different time. I'll take different time, and then we'll investigate the trajectory of the particle. So omega t, omega is some frequency, right? Omega is some frequency of oscillation. T is time, right? And for different time, I'll observe that value of x the particle displacement of simple harmonic motion that is happening along x-axis, and also will note y. So when omega t 0, omega t 0 means at initial step or at initial state. So at initial state, when omega t is 0, what will be the value of x? When omega t 0, what will be the value of x? You can see here. So a sine of this part is 0, a by root 2. And y will be 0 because sine omega t is 0, so this will be 0. Now I'll note down that trajectory here. So similar plot, okay. So first, when omega t 0, you are getting a by root 2 0. So it will be somewhere here. Okay, somewhere here you are getting. Initially particle is somewhere here. Now when omega t, so omega t 0 means t equals to 0, right? So at t equals to 0 or initial state, particle is somewhere here. This is your x-axis. This is your y-axis. Now let us take omega t equals to pi by 4. You are in progressive time. So when omega t equals to pi by 4, this will become how much? This will become pi by 4 plus pi by 4 pi by 2. Sin pi by 2, it will be a. And this will become b by root 2. Okay. Now when omega t equals to pi by 2, then what will be this value? So sin pi by 2 plus pi by 4, that is sin 3 pi by 4, that is a by root 2. Okay. And this will become now how much? B. So this, when it is pi by 4, the point is a b by root 2. So a b by root 2 will be somewhere here. Then you are getting where pi by 2 a by root 2 b. तो ऐसे स्टेप पता चल रहा है, देखो ओमेगा टी 0 मतलब इनिशियल टाइम इक्वल टू 0, फिर आपने थोड़ा टाइम बढ़ाया और देखा कहाँ है ट्रैजेक्टरी पार्टिकल का पोजीशन कहाँ है, फिर थोड़ा और टाइम बढ़ाया, फिर आपने नोट किया कि कहाँ आपका पार्टिकल है. सो इनिशियली इट वाज हियर, नाउ इट इज हियर. व्हेन omega t equals to pi by 4, when omega t equals to pi by 2, you are getting where a by root 2 b. So a by root 2 here, b will be here. So this position. Are you getting? क्या
So why are we drawing this box?
हाँ, ये box, this box.
Yes, sir.
Because particle is in periodic motion ना, that's why we are drawing this. मतलब पार्टिकल इसी बॉक्स का जो लेंथ है ना, यानी एम्पलीट्यूड, within this the particle, the motion of the particle will be confined. Within this amplitude or within this area, the motion of the particle will be confined. That's why we are drawing like this. You can ignore this box also, no problem. Just मैं आपको कोऑर्डिनेट दिखाने के लिए ये सारे आपका जो ये है box draw कर रहा हूँ. So did you get this point? How this point is actually coming?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now if you further take more points here, I mean if you further increase like now how much you can increase? You can increase like 3 pi by 4, then pi, so on. So किस तरह की आपका इस सारे पॉइंट को अगर नोट करोगे तो आपका पार्टिकल का जो ट्रैजेक्टरी आएगा, okay, you can verify. I'll draw, you can verify this. ठीक है, this kind of trajectory you will get. Okay, this is known as what? Yes.
सर वो जो इक्वेशन आया -2x बाई बोला तो उससे नहीं आएगा ये?
No, actually it will be very really complicated. You will not get this kind of equation. आपको नहीं मिलेगा. इवन ये सारे जैसे पॉइंट देके मैं इन्वेस्टिगेट कर रहा हूँ ना, ये सारे पॉइंट है ना, This is also I have investigated myself actually. You will not get these things in book. So in book they will say at phi equals to pi by 4 you'll get this kind of trajectory. But how this trajectory actually coming, that we are looking actually. So जब टाइम t इक्वल टू ओमेगा t इक्वल टू 0 पे पार्टिकल का पॉइंट पोजीशन यहाँ पर था, पाई बाई 4 में कहाँ पे आ गया, यहाँ पे आ गया, देन पाई बाई 2 में यहाँ पे आ गया, फिर 3 पाई बाई 4 लोगे तो ये पॉइंट आ जाएगा. देखो when if you take 3 pi by 4 this point, then how much you will get? X will be how much? X will be 0, y will be b by root 2. X is 0, y equals to b by root 2, this point. If you take further point like x equals to now pi, if you take x equals to, sorry, omega t equals to pi, omega t equals to pi, it means this will become minus how much? Minus a by root 2, minus a by root 2, and b will be 0. So like this. So you can give that arrow. बट ये जो मैंने कॉन्सेप्ट आपको बोला हूँ इसको आप अच्छे से सुन लो, क्योंकि ये बुक में नहीं मिलेगा आपको, फिर बाद में आपको प्रॉब्लम होगा. तो पॉइंट ऐसे आपको टाइम को बढ़ाना पड़ेगा. हाँ
सर, ये जो इक्वेशन है सर लिसाजस फिगर सर, उसके अनुसार नहीं आएगा सर ये?
हाँ, आप बोलो आपके पास कोई लॉजिक है था, तो अगर वहाँ पे सब्स्टिट्यूट करोगे फाई तो फिर क्या मिलेगा आपको? इफ यू सब्स्टिट्यूट फाई देयर, हाउ डू विल गेट? Nothing you will get there. Okay, but why are you getting trouble? Is this part clear what I'm saying?
सर यस सर,
ये वाला पार्ट आपको समझ में आई?
यस सर, यस
sir.
Then this is fine, because this you will not get in a book, because these things actually student used to face problem. So I have investigated myself and I noted down all the point at different progressive time how the particle will follow that path. So you can add the time, like I have added 0, pi by 4, pi by 2, 3 pi by 4. So if you count like this up to 2 pi, you will get this kind of trajectory. This is also known as oblique ellipsoid. Okay. So पहले वाला आपका phi equals to 0 पे आप आसानी से आपका आ गया था, but phi equals to when pi by 4, if you substitute it, you'll never get any conclusion. So that's why what I have done, I have taken different omega t with separation of pi by 4, and I have noted down that value of x and y, the position of the particle, because at the end the position of x and y that will decide the position of particle. So you can extend up to 2 pi and you can exactly get this kind of curve. So this is known as oblique ellipsoid. Now case number 3. Case number 3 is when phi equals to, now phi equals to how much? Pi by 2. Now what will be the situation now? If phi equals to pi by 2,
X square upon A square plus Y square upon B square over 1.
so these things you can get from your equation.
Ellipsoid. Ellipse.
So if you substitute this x phi equals to pi by 2, then you will get x by a ka whole square plus y by b ka whole square. That should be equals to how much? On. This should be x by a ka whole square plus y by b ka whole square. That should be equals to on. You can investigate also, like okay. So if you plot this, if you plot this curve, how it will look like? So this side you have x, this side you have y. So this path will be like this. So depends upon a value of b. So value of a and b. Here I have considered that a greater than b. you may get like this also. Okay, is it clear? Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
कोई question है इसमें?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now when it will become circle? So when it will become circle, when phi equals to pi by 2 and a equals to b. So when that phase difference equals to pi by 2 and the amplitude of oscillation of X oscillator and Y oscillator, if they have same amplitude, then you will get the trajectory that will be what? That will be kind of circle. So in that scenario, the trajectory will be how it will look like. So arrow देना जरूरी है. Arrow किस तरह की होगा? इस तरह की arrow होगा. मतलब क्या है? Particle will start its journey from this point and it will go like this and it will come like this. Side you have X, this side you have Y. ठीक है? क्या समझ में आ रहा है आप लोगों को? अभी तो ये
सर
इजी पार्ट है एक्चुअली. अभी थोड़ा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड और आएगा. अभी ये आपका बहुत इजी पार्ट है. ठीक. Okay. So now how the trajectory will look like if you take now phi equals to 3 pi by 4. कैसे लगेगा? कैसे दिखेगा? If you take phi equals to 3 pi by 4, now how the trajectory will look like? बताओ.
ellipse.
Ellipse.
Sir,
Okay, oblique ellipse, right?
sir, oblique ellipse.
Hmm. Okay, now case number 3 we have discussed, right? Case number 4 we are going to discuss. Now, if the phase equals to how much? 3 pi by 4. Okay, if phase equals to 3 pi by 4, you will have that X will be how much? A sine of omega t plus 3 pi by 4. And Y is how much? B sine of omega t. This is your Y. Okay. So to look at a trajectory, let us see that trajectory for different time. Omega t you have taken, then we'll see the value of X and Y. So when X omega t equals to 0, what will be the value of X? When omega t equals to 0, what will be the value of X?
A by root 2.
A by root 2, right? So X equals to now A by root 2. Y equals to how much? 0, right? Y equals to 0. Now when omega t equals to now pi by 4, so what will be the value of X now? It will be 0, right? Because pi by 4 plus 3 pi by 4, that is how much? That will be 0. So X will be 0, Y will become now P by root 2. So omega t equals to 0, that point will be somewhere here, A by root 2, right? And when it is pi by 4, omega t equals to pi by 4, 0 B by root 2. It means it will be somewhere here. right? Now if you take more point, now 0 pi by 4, next point will be what? Anyone? Next point क्या होगा? बताओ.
by 2.
Wait.
Pi by
Pi by
2.
Okay, let us take pi by 2. If you take pi by 2, then x will be how much now? Pi by 2 plus 3 pi by 4 is how much?
Pi by 4.
Pi by 2 plus 3 pi by 4 कितना होता है?
7 pi by 8.
हाँ. So here you will have sin pi by 2 plus pi by 4, right? So it means, sorry, 3 pi by 2, right? So 7 pi by 4 means what? 2 pi minus pi by 4.
Sir, 3 pi by 4 होना.
3 by 4 है सर.
हाँ 3 pi by 4, right? हाँ 3 pi by 4 means क्या होता है 3 pi by 4?
2
नहीं,
pi
नहीं,
by
नहीं.
4.
No.
5 by 4 hours.
Sorry, here there is a mistake ना. So यहाँ पे क्या होगा आपका? Sin of कितना है? Pi by 2, right? Pi by 2 plus 3 pi by 4, right? Because 3 pi by 4 is the initial phase, and you have pi by 2. Your the omega t is equals to pi by 2. So 2 pi plus 3 pi by 4, 5 pi by 4, right? ये कितना है? 5 pi by 4 है, right?
A by root 2 आ जाएगा सर.
5 pi by 4 मतलब a by root 2 या minus a by root 2? Minus a by root 2.
Yes sir.
It should be minus a by root 2. And what about b? So at this value you will have y equals to how much now? Because you have taken omega t equals to pi by 2. So if you substitute pi by 2, sin pi by 2 will be on, y will be simply b, right? So this point will be somewhere minus a by root 2b. It will be somewhere here. Okay. Next, if you take 3 pi by 4, if you take 3 pi by 4, then what will the value of x now? If you take 3 pi by 4,
-1.
minus a, right? It will be minus a, because 3 pi by 4 plus 3 pi by 4, that will be 3 pi by 2, and sin 3 pi by 2 is nothing but minus a. And at this point your y will be how much? Sin 3 pi by 4, it means y equals to b by root 2. So this point will be somewhere here. So you are getting this point. If you add this point, the trajectory will be kind of this. So this is also kind of oblique ellipsoid, but if you see, there is motion is different kind of motion. Initially it was like this. Now for this case, when phi goes 3 pi by 4, now shape will be same, but orientation is different. So this is also your oblique ellipsoid. Okay, this is also oblique ellipsoid. Is it quite clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now what about when phase equals to
Sir,
yes.
pi by 2, how did we get x is equal to minus a by root 2?
Yes. Okay, you can check here. How much you will get? Sine of this will be how much? 5 pi by 4, right?
Pi by 4.
5 pi by 4 means pi plus pi by 4. Pi plus pi by 4, right? So sine pi plus theta equals to how much? Minus sine theta, right? Sine pi plus theta equals to how much? Sine minus theta. Minus sine theta. So you can write it like minus of sine pi by 4. So this is minus 1 by root 2. Okay?
Oh. Okay, thank you, sir.
So like this. So what I'm doing this all, counting all this point, because आप एग्जाम में ऐसे कितना याद करके रखोगे कि भाई फाइव इक्वल्स टू 3 पाई बाई 4 में इस तरह की शेप होता है, फाइव इक्वल्स टू 2 पाई में इस तरह की होता है, क्योंकि बुक में डायरेक्टली आपको क्या गिवन रहेगा, आपको डायरेक्ट फिगर गिवन रहेगा। बट इफ यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस स्टेप, आपको कोई याद रखने का जरूरत नहीं है, ठीक है। यू कैन काउंट 3-4, you can calculate 3-4 point and you will get that your option. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now when it is phi equals to pi, then what will happen? If phi equals to pi, ये अच्छे से समझ लो आप लोग, क्योंकि बुक में नहीं मिलेगा आप लोगों को इतना डिटेल्स में, ठीक है।
Sir.
हाँ, when phi equals to pi, now how will happen? Now you can use your previous equation, x by a ka whole square plus y by b ka whole square. That equation become how much now? So if you see that equation, if you substitute phi equals to pi, that equation, general equation, now you will get x by a plus y by b ka whole square, that will be 0. Just substitute in your general equation, you will get like this. So from here you can calculate y equals to minus b by a into x. Now if you look into the trajectory, how it will look like? If you look into the trajectory, so this side you have x, this side you have y. So when x equals to 0, y will be 0. So point will be somewhere here. Okay. Now if x equals to a, y will be how much now? If x equals to a, y will be how much?
Minus b.
Minus b. Point will be somewhere here. Can you understand that difference between previous case when phi equals to 0?
Yes, sir.
हाँ, phi equals to 0 के लिए क्या कहाँ था, यहाँ पे था, राइट ना। phi equals to जब 0 के लिए हम लोगों ने प्लॉट किया था, जब x equals to a था, y equals to कितना था, b था, यहाँ पे था। अब देखो यहाँ पे आ गया। Now when x equals to minus a, y will be how much? Plus b. So it will be here. So if you join this point, it will be looking like this. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
phi equals to 0 के लिए क्या किस तरह की था, इस तरह की, right? Now when phi equals to pi, trajectory is like this. ठीक है ना? Same thing will be helpful when we will go to polarization, discussion of polarization. Exactly similar kind of thing you will get there. Okay. ठीक है ना? Okay. Now your homework is, so this is I have done few homework you have to do. So you have to check the trajectory when phi equals to 5 pi by 4, then 3 pi by 2, 7 pi by 4 and 2 pi. So 4 फेज के लिए आपको चेक करनी है, ठीक है, कि किस तरह की ट्रेजेक्टरी होगा। प्लीज डू इट। कैन यू एबल टू सॉल्व?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
You can do, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, now we'll this is the simplest part of Lissajous figure. So if you remember, for x and
Sir,
y,
एक बार डायरेक्शन बता दीजिए सर प्लीज।
कौन सा
का डायरेक्शन कैसे लेते हैं, ट्रैजेक्टरी का डायरेक्शन?
ट्रैजेक्टरी का डायरेक्शन अच्छा, वो टाइम के हिसाब से देखो, अगर ओमेगा टी इक्वल टू 0 पे यहाँ पे है, पार्टिकल ओमेगा टी इक्वल टू पाई बाई 4 पे यहाँ पे जा रहा है, तो कैसे लोगे आप? इस तरह से, मतलब ओमेगा टी इक्वल टू 0 से कहाँ जा रहे हो वो देखो, फिर नेक्स्ट टाइम कहाँ जा रहे हैं देखो। अगर समझ मान लो ओमेगा टी इक्वल टू 0 पे पार्टिकल यहाँ पे है, तो ये लिखोगे, पाई बाई 4 में यहाँ चला गया, तो डायरेक्शन किधर लोगे, ये वाला डायरेक्शन हो गया। फिर आपका π/2 में यहाँ पे चला गया, तो इस तरह के लोग, तो डायरेक्शन किधर हो गया, इधर हो गया, समझ रहे हो? सो इनिशियल टाइम से फाइनल टाइम में किस तरह की मोशन हो रहा है वो देखो, है ना?
क्लियर हो गया सर।
क्लियर हो गया ना?
यस सर।
Okay. Now second case is little bit complicated, but एग्जाम में आएगा तो यहीं से आएगा क्वेश्चन, ठीक है? इनिशियली आपका दो ऑसिलेटर था और दो क्या था, दोनों ऑसिलेटर परपेंडिकुलर थे, राइट? बोथ ऑसिलेटर वाज परपेंडिकुलर, राइट? Whatever we have looked now, both oscillator actually
Yes, sir.
was perpendicular, right? They're perpendicular. Now,
Yes, sir.
if you see their frequency ratio, both X oscillator and Y oscillator both have same frequency, right? 1:1. Whatever we have discussed, they have same frequency, right? Now, if you take that frequency ratio, the oscillator that is along x-axis, its frequency omega x equals to 2 omega, and that oscillator along y-axis, its frequency is now omega. So they have different frequency. Okay, omega x is to omega y. That will be how much? 2:1. So two perpendicular oscillator, they have different frequency. Their frequency ratio is 2:1. Okay, if they superimpose, then what will be the trajectory of that particle? That we are going to see. So now your equation will become how it will look like? X equals to now a sine of twice omega t plus phi, right? This will be your equation. Nothing I have done, just in previous case I have taken for x oscillator frequency was omega, now it will become twice omega, and y will be as it is, b sine of omega t. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now your oscillator, this oscillator has twice frequency as that of this oscillator. Now I can simplify this term. So again I'll simplify this. X equals to a sine of twice omega t cos phi plus, so इनिशियली x a को इधर लेके आ जाओ आप, x by a कर लो इसको, तो x by a equals to how much? Sin twice omega t cos phi, then cos twice omega t. Cos twice omega t को हम क्या लिख सकते हैं? 1 minus 2 sin square omega t, right? Cos 2 omega t, then you will have sin phi. Nothing I have done, just sin a plus b का फॉर्मूला यूज किया मैंने, तो sin a cos b plus cos a, cos कितना है? Cos twice omega t, that I can write 1 minus 2 twice sin square omega t, and you will have sin phi here. Okay, and sin 2 omega t is how much basically? 2 sin of omega t
Cos omega t.
cos omega t, then cosine phi plus 1 minus 2 y square sin square omega t will be how much? Y square by b square, right? Sin of phi. Is it clear? Right? Because sin omega t is y by b, so 1 minus 2 sin square omega t will be y square by b square, and we will have sin phi. Now sin omega t, here I'll use this value, so it will be twice. Again sin omega t will be y by b, and cosine omega t I can write root over 1 minus sin square omega t, so it will be 1 minus y square by b square, right? Cosine of phi plus 1 minus 2 y square by b square sin of phi. Okay, is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so x by a, now I'll bring this term on the left hand side. इसको मैं लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में लेके आऊंगा, सेकंड वाला टर्म को. So I can write like 1 minus 2 y square by b square sine of phi, and that should be equals to 2y by b square root of 1 minus y square by b square cosine phi. Okay, ठीक है ना? If you square it now, if you square it, okay, if you square it, then how much you'll get? X by a ka whole square. Okay, then second term will be how much? Minus 2x by a. Just I'm breaking this square. So a square minus 2ab plus b square, right? So x by a ka whole square minus 2x by a. Then you have to take this term, that is 1 minus 2y square by b square sine of phi. Then last term will be how much? Last term will be 1 minus 2y square by b square whole square sine square phi, and that should be equals to 4y square by b square 1 minus y square by b square then cos square phi. Okay, ठीक है ना? इतना समझ में आया?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, now if I add on term, so this is your equation. If I add this term, I'll add 1 minus 2y square by b square whole square cos square phi. लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में मैंने ऐड किया क्या? 1 minus 2y square by b square whole square cos square phi ऐड किया. अब फिर मेरे को राइट हैंड साइड में भी ऐड करना पड़ेगा, राइट? इफ यू ये वाला टर्म आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा? राइट हैंड साइड में भी आपको ऐड करना पड़ेगा, राइट? सो इफ यू ऐड इट, then you will get, what you will get? You will get cos square phi will be common, right? और इसमें कितना था आपका? 4 y square by b square minus 4 y की पावर 4 by b की पावर 4. ये आपका जो आपका राइट हैंड साइड में ऑलरेडी था, जो 4y square by b square into 1 minus y square by b square, 4y square by b square को अगर ब्रैकेट के इनसाइड करोगे तो आपको ये मिलेगा 4y square by b square minus 4y की पावर 4 by b की पावर 4, and you have added what term? cos square phi, this, right? 1 minus 2y square by b square. तो इसको अगर ब्रेक करोगे फिर क्या मिलेगा? क्योंकि आपको यहाँ पे एक्चुअली क्या कर रहे हो आप? ये वाला टर्म को आप ऐड कर रहे हो, राइट? And you have cos square phi here, already you have taken common. So if you break this square, basically you will get 1 minus 4 y square by b square plus 4 y की power 4 by b की power 4. So this will be cancelled actually, and at the end you will get cos square phi. Okay, and why I have added this? Actually I have added because this will be common, and cos square phi plus sin square phi, that will be 1, right? So from these two term you can see sin square phi plus cos square phi, and this term is actually common. So sin square phi, if I take this term common, sin square phi plus cos square phi will have, that will be 1. So I can write like this. I can write like this equals to cos square phi. I can write like this equals to cos square phi. Okay. So if you further simplify this term, then how much you will get? अच्छा, आपको यहाँ से cos square phi को क्या लिख सकते हो आप? 1 minus sin square phi लिख सकते हो, right? You can write like this, right? Cos square phi is nothing but 1 minus sin square phi. If I write it, then you have to do this 2 more steps. This is your homework. If you do like this, you will get x by a minus sin phi का whole square, okay, plus 4y square by b square, y square by b square plus x by a sin phi minus 1 इक्वल टू 0। ठीक है, ये आपको इक्वेशन मिलेगा, यहां से ही मिलेगा, कुछ नहीं है। इसको जस्ट आप ब्रेक कर दो, ठीक है। इसको अगर ब्रेक करोगे, है ना, और राइट हैंड साइड में आपने क्या लिखे हो, cos स्क्वायर फाई की जगह पे 1 minus sin स्क्वायर फाई। सो इफ यू राइट लाइक दिस, if you follow 2 more steps, you will get this kind of equation, and this is the general equation for this case when omega x into omega y, that is 2:1. So in that case, the general equation of this trajectory will be this. So this is the general equation, and you can see how much will be the order of this equation. So order means maximum power. Maximum power is how much? Y to the power 4. So order of this equation is basically 4. Order of this equation is basically 4. So when two oscillator having frequency ratio of 2:1, different amplitude, perpendicular to each other, if they superimpose, their trajectory will be followed by this difference, this equation, okay, and the equation, this is of the order of 4, okay, because y to the power 4 is here. So maximum power of x and y is known as order, right? So here यहाँ पे क्या है, maximum power y की है, इसको order बोलते हैं, ठीक है। But it will be very difficult to judge the trajectory from this equation. You can use the software. That time you can tell that software will tell you, if you use this software, sorry, use this formula in software, and if you put the value of phi, you will get different trajectory. But by hand it will be very difficult, or by looking at this equation. So we'll plot one by one, okay. So I'll plot for the time being, I'll plot on trajectory, okay, then tomorrow we'll do. Okay, now suppose case 1, when phi equals to 0. If phi equals to 0, what will be the trajectory? So you have equation, right? X equals to a sine of twice omega t, and y equals to how much? B sine of omega t. This is your equation, right? This is your equation because phi is now 0. So how will plot the trajectory? You have to take different time. Omega t x y. Same rule we have to follow. So when omega t equals to 0, x will be how much? X will be 0, right? Y will again be 0. You can check here. Substitute the value of omega t, sine 0 0. So both will be 0. Now if omega t is pi by 4, so obviously this will become pi by 2. So x will become a, and what about y? Y will become b by root 2. So I'll plot here this trajectory. This side you have x, this side you have y. When omega t is 0, both will be here. This point will be corresponding to this. When omega t equals to pi by 4, a b by root 2. So a b by root 2 means somewhere here. Okay, note this point. Now when omega t equals to pi by 2, then what will be x? What will be x now? X will be 0, right? X will be 0, y will be b. The point will be somewhere here. X equals to 0, y equals to b. Now if you take pi omega t equals to 3 pi by 4, then it will be 3 pi by 2. 3 pi by 2 means what? Minus a. X will become minus a, and y will be how much now? Y will be b by root 2. Sine 3 pi by 4, 3 pi by 4 is nothing but b by root 2. So you'll get somewhere here. Okay. Now, if you take more points, suppose you are taking 3 pi by 4 के बाद क्या आता है? Pi. If you take pi, x will be how much? 0. Y will be 0. So you are getting this point. Okay. Now, if you take further, if you take 5 pi by 4, if you take 5 pi by 4, you will get x equals to how much? 5 pi by 2. So 2 pi plus pi by 2, that will be plus a. And this will become now minus b by root 2. Plus a minus b by root 2. The point will be somewhere here. Okay. Next, if you take 3 pi by 2, if you take 3 pi by 2, this will become now how much? Sine 3 pi. Sine 3 pi is how much? 0. Just I am substituting value. So 2 into 3 pi by 2, that will be sine 3 pi. Sine 3 pi will be 0. What about cos? Sorry, what about this? Y equals to sine 3 pi by 2. Sine 3 pi by 2 means pi plus pi by 2. So minus 1. So at this point, y will become minus b. The point will be somewhere here. Okay. Next, if you take 7 pi by 4, you will get x equals to minus a by root 2. Just check. Okay. And y will become minus b by root 2. Okay. If you extend further, it is 2 pi. It will be 0. It will be 0. So you'll get somewhere here. Now you can add this. So it will be like this. So trajectory will be like this. I think आप लोगों ने देखा होगा इस तरह की फिगर. नहीं? नहीं देखा हो?
बुक में देखे हैं सर.
बुक में देखो? Okay. Now I think you understood, right? How this figure is coming. Do you get?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Understood, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I have done this one plot. I have to do more plots. Okay, so you can do one more plot. Okay, let me do one more plot. आप लोग बताओ. एक और करते हैं, ठीक है?
Yes, sir.
धीरे-धीरे एक और कर दो.
So I'll draw for pi by 2. Let us take pi by 2. Because pi by 4 is almost similar. This kind of plot will come. I'll do this pi by 4 also because it will be boring, because again you will get this kind of plot itself. But if you take pi by 2, it will be different now. So if you take pi by 2, then what will happen? Your equation now, x will be how much? A sine of how much? Omega t plus pi by 2, right? This will be your, sorry, twice omega t plus pi by 2, right? Oh, sorry. Yes. This will be a x, right? X equals to a sine twice omega t plus pi by 2. Y will be as it is. B sine of omega t. Okay. Okay, now we'll see for different time. आप लोग बताना, ठीक है? Okay. Now if omega t x and y, if omega t is 0, what will happen? What will happen to x and y? Tell me. If omega t is 0, what will happen to x and y?
X is
Zero,
A.
zero.
Okay, omega t is 0, x will be how much? A, right? Because this will be 0,
A.
sine pi by 2, it
0.
will be a. No, 0, because you have already pi by 2, right? So this term 0, sine 0 plus pi by 2, sine pi by 2, x will be a. Y will be how much? Y will be 0. So point
0.
will be sine somewhere
0.
this point. right? Because this side you have x, this side y. This point corresponds to this a0. This point is a0 because x coordinate is a, y coordinate is 0. Now if you take pi by 4, omega t equals to, so what will be now your x? So omega t is pi by 4, twice omega t, it will become pi by 2 plus pi by 2, pi. Sin pi is 0.
0.
Okay. What about y? Y will become sin pi by 4 b by root 2. Right? So you'll get point somewhere here. Okay. Now if you take further pi by 2. So pi by 2, now it will become how much? Sin pi plus pi by 2. Sin pi plus pi by 2 means how much? -1. Sin pi plus pi by 2. If you substitute pi by 2 here, so 2 into pi by 2, pi plus pi by 2, 3 pi by 2. Sin 3 pi by 2 is how much? -a. Right? And this will become b sin pi by 2, so it will be b. So this point will be somewhere here. Okay? Is it clear? Is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now if you take 3 pi by 4, then what will happen? So 3 pi by 4 means this will become 3 pi by 2, twice omega, right? 3 pi by 2 plus pi by 2. It means 2 pi, right? 2 pi, right? So sin 2 pi is 0, so it will be 0. And here you will get y equals to b sin 3 pi by 4, that will be b by root 2. So 0 b by root 2. Again, you will get this point. 0 b by 2 means this point. You see? Exactly, जब आपको pi by 4 में जहाँ पे मिला था same मिल रहा है, right? Is not it? Are you getting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this point. Now if you take pi, then what will happen? If you take pi, then it will be 2 pi plus pi by 2. How much? Sin 2 pi plus pi by 2 कितना होता है? Sin 2 pi plus pi by 2 मतलब sin pi by 2. Sin pi by 2 मतलब 1 होता है. तो at this point you will get x equals to a. And y will be now how much? 0. Y will be 0, right? So y 0 मतलब क्या है? ये पॉइंट. मतलब क्या हुआ आपका? आपने जानने शुरू किया, इधर गए, फिर इधर वापसी आ गए, राइट? विद इन कितना टाइम में? पाई टाइम में, राइट? डिड यू गेट? आपका जर्नी कहां से शुरू हुआ था? इधर से, राइट? यू गो देयर, देन अगेन कम बैक. नाउ यू टेक मोर. इफ यू टेक मोर लाइक pi plus pi by 4, let us take sin omega t equals to 5 pi by 4. If you take 5 pi by 4, then what will happen? This will become 5 pi by 2, right? This will become 5 pi by 2, and you have pi by 2. So sin 5 pi by 2 plus pi by 2, it will become 3 pi, right?
Yes, sir.
Omega t equals to pi by 4, so it will become 5 pi by 2. You have pi by 2. 6 pi by 2 में मतलब कितना होता है? 3 pi होता है. Sin 3 pi का वैल्यू कितना होता है? 0, right? And y will become how much? b sin 5 pi by 4. इसका मतलब कितना होता है? माइनस b by root 2 होता है. तो ये पॉइंट कहाँ पे आ जाएगा? यहाँ पे आ जाएगा. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट, if you take 3 pi by 2, then this will become how much? 3 pi plus pi by 2 कितना होता है? Sin 3 pi plus pi by 2, how much? It will be minus a. You check. Minus a. And what about this? Sin 3 pi by 2, it will be minus b. So this point will be corresponding to this. If you take further, you will get this repeat term or this point. So trajectory will be like this. It will go like this, then it will come like this, it will go like this further, and further it will come like this. Are you getting? इतना समझ में आप लोगों को?
Yes, sir.
So this is the
Yes, sir.
These are the plot. Student used to face problem in Lissajous figure. Maximum student used to face problem. So if you follow my steps, you will not get any difficulty in this step, right? So you have to just take different point or different time, right? Omega t, I am taking different time, and I am looking at position of the particle. And if you join this position, you will get trajectory. So these are the point. A few plots I have done. Tomorrow I'll do rest of the part, but you do that homework, whatever I have given.
Sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. If you have a question, you can ask me. Otherwise, we'll stop there. No question, right? Okay, so stop here. Do that homework. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Good
Thank
night,
you,
sir.
sir.
Next.
Thank you, sir.